Hey friend, Sean from Draft Therapy here, and on today's review for you, I'm really an 80-year-old man. Brimley Stout is a 5.5% oatmeal stout from Beards Brewery in Charlevoix, Michigan. When I talked to Peter from Beards last year, he was telling me about Brimley Stout. We talked about it in our conversation, and since that conversation, I've been waiting for it to hit shelves again. Now, you're smart, and I think you can figure out that it's finally hit the shelves. Either that or I'm just imagining this whole thing, and in that case, I'm definitely in some trouble. But regardless of that, I think it's real. Feels real. Let's take a look at the label. We'll get it into a glass, but first, I'd like to thank my executive producers, Ryan Barry, Eric Latowski, Brian Kramer, Zach, and Cam Freeman, for helping bring this review to you today. If you'd like to become a producer, help out the channel, or maybe just buy me a beer, take a look at my Patreon at patreon.com/draft_therapy. You'll find a link in the description. You can get early access to these videos, exclusive patron-only live streams, and a few other special perks. So let's take a look at that label, and let's see what's going on here. So first off, on the front, this looks just like a Quaker oatmeal box or a tube or whatever it comes in. On the side here, it says limited release, Beards Brewery, and it says Oatmeal Stout, Brimley Stout, and it has a picture of Wilfred Brimley, or a facsimile thereof, looking like, kind of like the Quaker oat guy, but he's got the hat, he's got the whole 9 yards on. If you turn it to the side, it says roasty, full-bodied, and creamy, and then on the back it says passionate about craft. Visit our pub in Petoskey, Michigan, Beards Brewery. Brimley Stout and Oatmeal Stout, a full-bodied oatmeal stout that is robust and rich in flavor, dark and roasty with a creamy finish. It's the right thing to do and the tasty way to do it. And then it has carefully crafted by Beards Brewery LLC in Charlevoix. You can visit them at beardsbrewery.com. And then the government warning. Usually I think of Beards, I think of them being in Petoskey, but they're actually, I guess they are actually brewed in Charlevoix, so that's why I said that in the beginning. But I would generally think of them as a Petoskey brewery. Regardless, let's crack this one open. This was canned on December 9th, 2020. I paid about $1.80 for this for a single. Just picked up a single this time around. Let's go ahead and crack it open and see what we got. Woo! All right, putting a nose on the can here. It does smell like a roasty kind of malty aroma. There's not a whole lot, out of the ordinary. It smells generally like what you would expect a stout taste like, or I'm sorry, to smell like. Again, it's kind of roasty, has a bit of a roasty malted characteristic, a little bit of a sweetness in there. Let's go ahead and pour it. Coming very thin out of the can. It looks very, almost like kind of like a coffee, a really light coffee though, not a heavy coffee, almost like an iced tea kind of color to it. It's, again, very light coming through there. If you look here, we got about a finger's worth of head. From the overhead, you can see it's just an off-white, slightly tan head. Compact bubbles, again, about a finger, maybe about half a finger, 3/4 of a finger, if that's a measurement or not. Let's go ahead and hold it up to the light. It's very dark, not seeing through that. On the bottom of the glass, I can see some carbonation rising up. It does look like a thin, light, kind of tan color through the bulb, but through the actual beer itself, it is dark. Let's go ahead and put a better nose on the glass here. Yeah, getting a sweetness, a sweet aroma, sweeter aroma. Smells a little bit, again, like a cola aroma. You can also smell some of those malty, roasted malty kind of characteristics. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Cheers. Mouth feels really nice, light, a little bit on the thinner side. It doesn't have a thickness. I wouldn't say it's even anywhere close to medium. It has a bit of a thinner mouthfeel, but the flavor itself is very roasty, a lot of roasted malts in there. A nice kind of, just a roasty flavor throughout. It has a hint of a sweetness, but it is very roasty, really dark roasted malty flavors, a little bit of a dark chocolate, really very buried deep in there, that dark chocolate. So when I say dark chocolate, I wouldn't, if you were to pick this up and try it, I wouldn't say like, oh, that's super chocolatey, but just that roasted, dark roasted malty characteristic lends to a little bit of a chocolatey kind of flavor in there. I'm drinking this a little bit on the cooler side, so I'm thinking as it warmed, a little bit more of that roasty characteristic would come up, but it is just really roasty through and through. This is very much in my mind, like a traditional oatmeal stout flavor. It's not anything, it's not no adjuncts were added. It's not bourbon barrel aged, obviously at 5.5%. So you're not getting any of those kind of added characteristics. But when you sit down with a Brimley Stout, I think what you would find is that it's going to be a very traditional, very just kind of, by the book oatmeal stout. It does have a really nice, dark, deep, heavy roasted characteristic. There is almost a bit of a smokiness, how roasty those malts are. But I think when you go in for a beer like this, and I'm still getting just those kind of flavors, it's not very complex. It just has that really, roasted malty kind of flavor, and it has a little bit of a kind of again, like a really deep dark chocolate way down in there. It's very roasty, almost smoky. So I think it's not a very complex flavor, but if you're just looking for something that is, takes you back to a little bit more of a simpler time of beer where it wasn't so much of or if you know somebody that's a traditionalist or somebody that is just starting to get into stouts, this is a really good example of an oatmeal stout. Again, a little bit of a sweetness, just a very minimal amount of sweetness, but it's very roasty. A very good example of the style, something that you could sit down and give someone as an example of saying, hey, you want to try all these different stout, there's milk stouts and there's oatmeal stouts and there's numerous coffee stouts and stuff like that. This is just a really good example of a oatmeal stout. And I think if you wanted to try and introduce somebody to stouts and didn't want to get too crazy with all the different adjuncts and all the different, maple this and bourbon barrel that and peanut butter that, this would be just a good example of the style to get someone introduced into stouts and a really good introduction into what Beards does. All right, friends, that has been Brimley Stout from Beards Brewery. Have you had this beer before? Do you know of a really good oatmeal stout or maybe a low ABV stout? Let me know in the comments down below while you're down there. If you like beer, you might want to subscribe and click that bell because I'm here talking about beer twice a week, at least two times a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it's all for free for viewers just like you. And you might miss your newest favorite if you're not subscribed and getting those notifications, and that would kill me if you didn't, if you missed out on a new favorite that you just didn't know about. So until next time, I'm Sean from Draft Therapy. Thanks for stopping by. Remember, drink craft beer, support your local breweries, and most importantly, don't forget to treat yourself to a little draft therapy. Thanks for watching, everybody. Cheers.